Hi everybody, Dan Bailey here with another super fun Fujifilm photography video for you. Before I get started, I want to remind you guys about my Photography on the Brain video lesson series. This in-depth video course challenges you to think more deeply about your own creativity and your own approach towards image making. Now, each video is about 10 minutes long, but they're packed full of information and insight. And at the end of each one, I give you an assignment so you can go off and practice some of that stuff on your own. And if you follow this link right here, you can get the 20 lesson bundle. That's 3.5 hours of video content for over 50% off. In all my years as a photographer in the past, I never owned a lens longer than 200 millimeters. I borrowed a 300 f4 a couple times, and I rented a 300 millimeter 2.8 one time for an assignment. But for my fast and light style of photography, I just never relished the idea of carrying a huge lens with me. So a few years ago when Fujifilm introduced their 100-400 long telephoto lens, I'll admit, I wasn't exceptionally warm to the idea of getting one. As a general rule, I make it a point not to own any piece of camera gear that I can't run with. And I just didn't think that lens would fit this criteria. And honestly, I didn't think that I'd get much use out of it. As it turns out, I absolutely love the Fuji 100-400. I can't get enough of it. This is one seriously fun lens. And over the past few years, I've used it to shoot a wide variety of subjects: sports, action, birds, wildlife, landscapes, portraits. In fact, there are some months where I'll burn more frames through my 100-400 than any of my other Fuji lenses, depending on what I'm shooting in that given period of time. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I love the Fuji 100-400. But first I'll show it to you. This is it right here. It's got a telescoping zoom barrel, so there's all the way out at 400 millimeters. It's also got a lock switch on the barrel, so if you flip that right there, then the barrel won't move. So if you're carrying it and kind of running around with it, the barrel will stay compact. It won't move up and down. It's got a separate focus ring out here and a non-numbered working aperture ring here. And it's one of Fuji's red badge lenses, which denotes their highest quality of zooms. And it's got a little door right here in the lens hood, so you can access the ring on a circular polarizer. So all in all, it's big, but it's not out of this world big. It's not unwieldy big. It does come with a removable tripod collar. I usually take that off when I'm shooting handheld, but it works great for the tripod. And since it is pretty front heavy, it does balance nicely when you have the battery grip on the body. So now that you know what it looks like, here are the 5 reasons why I think it's awesome. Number 1, it's razor sharp. Fuji's 100-400 has excellent optics. Built with 21 elements in 14 groups, with 5 extra low dispersion elements and 1 super extra low dispersion element, this lens is ridiculously sharp. Now, Fuji has a reputation for making great glass, and as with all their other red badge zoom lenses, this one is no exception. I'm really impressed at how well it's able to render sharp, crisp details, even at relative distance. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when you're shooting with long lenses and you're shooting subjects that are very far away, you're looking through a lot of air. And this can actually cause you to lose a lot of sharpness depending on the conditions. If it's really hot out, you'll get heat shimmers, and this will show up. If it's really hazy or foggy, or even if there's a lot of moisture in the air, that's going to affect the sharpness of your images as well. But if the air is clear and cool, you can render an incredible level of detail with this lens. Number 2, it has an extremely fast autofocus motor. Before I got the 100-400 in hand, someone had told me that it actually has a faster focus motor than what's on the 50-140. And I didn't believe it because Fuji's 50-140 is the workhorse telephoto zoom of the line. It's an amazing lens, and it's fast. It's got a triple linear autofocus motor. However, when I got the 100-400 and tried it out, I was blown away. He was right. It is faster. I'm telling you, this thing locks and tracks like a champ. With its twin linear autofocus motor and autofocus technology that's a year newer than what went into the 50-140, is probably the fastest Fuji zoom lens in terms of AF performance in the line. It was blazingly fast on the X-T2. Paired with the X-T3 and the X-T4, this thing is simply amazing. Hands down, it's a highly capable lens for shooting fast-moving subjects, action, sports, wildlife, birds, anything like that. I've shot a huge variety of motion subjects with my 100-400, and I've been impressed every single time. Last week I shot a downhill mountain bike race with this lens and the X-T4 body, and I was blown away at how fast it would track. I was in the dark forest under the trees with the ISO dial up to 6400, and I was amazed at how fast it locked on the subjects when they came into the frame, and then stayed with them even as I panned and zoomed as they went by. I even shot some slow motion video of these guys coming straight towards me, and then I would shift the camera quickly around when they went away, and the camera would lock on every single time. So yeah, it's fast for stills, it's fast for video, it's a really capable lens. Number 3, it has 5 stops of optical image stabilization. This is perhaps one of the most impressive features on the 100-400. The stabilization on this lens allows you to handhold down to really low shutter speeds, slower than you probably think you could with a lens of this size. Seriously, I rarely use a tripod with this lens. How bad am I? Number 4, it's a reasonable size and weight, and it's rugged and weather sealed. Yes, for the record, I can run with this lens. It fits in my smallest camera pack, my little 10-liter low pro flip side sport. Not bad for a lens that effectively gives you a full frame equivalent of 150 to 600 millimeters. Add in the Fuji 1.4x teleconverter and you've got a full frame equivalent of 800 millimeters. With the 2x you've got even longer. Personally, I prefer the 1.4x. It's smaller, it's lighter, you only lose one stop of light. It's almost a no-brainer. If you have one of the lenses that takes the teleconverters, the 1.4x is a definite must-have. Anyway, the first thing I did when I got the 100-400 was take it hiking. We're not talking flat trail hiking. I'm talking up mountains with steep hills, scree fields, snow, scrambling on rocks. And honestly, it didn't feel like I was carrying a super big lens. It felt like I was carrying the 50-140. The weight difference was really imperceptible. You know, once I got moving, I didn't even think about it. And it's even lighter when you take the tripod collar off, which again explains why I often leave mine at home. And the other nice thing is that it's all metal construction and fully weather sealed. And that's nice when you're shooting in rugged environments and tough conditions, or when the landscape has that, you know, that special charm. I will say that weather sealing is not really a deal breaker for me when it comes to buying a Fuji lens, but it is a nice feature to have if you're an outdoor photographer. Number 5, it's wicked fun. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm serious, this thing is one fun lens to use no matter what you're shooting. And it allows you to get some really cool imagery. The extra long focal length allows you to bring in those backgrounds with a lot of compression. You can loom them forward and create a lot of separation and drama between your sharp subject and the blurry background. And you can also bring in those details that are far away. You know, whether you're shooting a nature scene or a portrait, or I don't know, the moon. It's really cool to be able to show the details of the craters on the moon, which is, I don't know, only 238,000 miles away. Or the sun. It's a great lens to use for capturing really dramatic sunsets right before the sun goes below the horizon. Now remember, you never want to point your telephoto lens at the sun when it's high in the sky. You'll burn your retina and you'll melt your sensor, and that's not going to make for a good day. But when the sun is obscured by haze or wildfire smoke, or when it's right at the edge of the horizon, that's a safe time to shoot some incredibly dramatic photos. And I will say that when I'm capturing the moon or when I'm shooting close-up shots of the sun, I often use a tripod just to give me that extra stability. So I'm not really that bad, I'm just a little bit bad. So anyway, if you're looking for a really fun, long telephoto zoom to add to your X-Series kit, the 100-400 is definitely worth considering. Now I know a lot of you guys are going to want to know, well, what about the 70-300 that just came out? Now I haven't had a chance to try that lens yet, but when I do, I'll definitely post here on my channel. But I will say this, now both are great lenses. The 100-400 being a red badge label zoom, it's going to have an all-metal body, it's more rugged construction, it has more extra low dispersion elements inside, basically better glass. The 70-300, awesome lens, great quality, fast autofocus. It's just not going to take quite as much abuse as the 100-400. And for pixel peeping and critical inspection, the 100-400 is probably going to have the edge on overall sharpness and clarity, but probably not by much. Again, the main difference between the two lenses, 100-400 is obviously longer, but it's got that full Red Badge Pro all metal construction and quality. And a tripod collar. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment, ask me a question. I'm happy to answer your questions for you. If you're a Fuji shooter, you definitely want to check out my best-selling ebook, X-Series Unlimited. 400 pages of rock-solid tips, photos, and insight that's going to help you get the best results and have the most fun with your Fuji. It's basically the missing manual to the X-Series cameras. Also, be sure and spread the word about my channel so other Fuji users can find it as well. You can find me on social media and Patreon at Dan Bailey Photo. You can check out my blog and website as well. So thanks again for watching. Have fun with your Fuji out there, and I'll see you next time.